Yo, what is up, everybody? Back again. Y'all already know what
Nail,
it is.
play that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, this man got the background.
You already know, man. Easy money. Well, it should be easy money, but like
Look,
I
knock
said,
on wood.
Look at the rookie graphic. We got Dean and we got Davis. It doesn't get better than that.
yeah, put that shit up.
As Ricky Bobby said, if you ain't first,
You're
you're
last.
last.
Exactly.
Second place is at 2.
Definitely gonna make up for it.
Trust me. I need a sports podcast, man. I need it. Welcome back, everybody, to the I Need It Sports Podcast. Your host with the most. We got the whole crew back. Recap Wildcard Weekend, touch on the divisional preview, and we got a special guest. If y'all been keeping up with us, you know I've been a guest appearance on this guy's podcast many times. Every time it's a hit. Love talking ball with Erik. If you haven't already, go subscribe to his channel. You'll see it down below. ETOF21 Sports Show on YouTube, on Twitter. Erik, welcome to the podcast. Second time on. Last time, we had him on for the live NBA pod. We unfortunately didn't have our guy Kam because his internet was acting up that day. Now we got the whole gang together. We got Erik on once again. Time to talk some football, talk about our teams, how Wildcard Weekend, because all of our teams are in the playoffs. So it was a good weekend for some, bad weekend for others, but we're going to touch on all of that. Erik said, welcome to the pod. Anything you want to say? Shout out your own podcast.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Excited to be here. Excited to talk football with all you guys. And happy my Lions won. I thought for sure we're going to lose. I thought Stafford was going to get that revenge game. But live to fight another day. Great matchup with the Bucs. Hopefully we can keep it going.
Yes, sir. So we're going to let everybody open up with their own little monologue about their team's wild card weekend. So we're going to go in order of the games, Chiefs, Kam Texans, Chris Cowboys, Erik Lions, as he just said, and Cam Swan Eagles. First up in that Saturday afternoon matchup, CJ Stroud and the Texans. They didn't just take the dub. They whooped some ass. They had Joe Flacco in hell. That number one defense looked very subpar. And Cam was there to witness it live. Let us know how it was, Cam. Give us your little rant. How you feeling? First playoff win in years. This is supposed to be the rebuild year. But look, here y'all are in the divisional versus the Ravens this week. How you feeling?
Man, feeling good, man. Feeling great. That win was, I wouldn't say necessarily shocking, but the way that we beat them was kind of shocking because I was expecting, a little bit more better game than that. But you could just tell, like, the guys on offense came laser focused, and guys on defense came, laser focused. Also, first couple of drives, whatever, it was going back and forth, couple 3 and outs, whatever. And we drove down the field, got a little field goal, whatever. Then they drove down the field, and then here you go, Kareem Hunt. Touchdown from Kareem Hunt or whatever, and then right before the first quarter ended, we threw a little screen pass to Nico. He scored, and then the Browns' second touchdown or whatever, Kareem Hunt scored it again. And after that, it was just a complete whoop down by my Texans. One play touchdown was like 75, 76 yards. Brevin Jordan. And then another play, Dalton Schultz off of CJ play action down the field. Beautiful. And then second half hit. Whew, y'all should have seen NRG, man. When Steven Nelson was I think that was our longest touchdown in franchise history ever, the 82-yard pick six. And then right after that, following up with Christian Harris on pick six. And I don't know if y'all seen the clip or whatever, but you could really see like D'Amico coaching him up, telling him what to do and whatever. And he did exactly what D'Amico told him to do. Stay right there by the sticks, picked them off, touchdown. And man, it was just amazing, man. Amazing game. I was glad to be there, man. The city was buzzing. city was definitely buzzing. I'm just glad that our guys are finally like getting that national love, or whatever, national media love, because like I said before, man, you know, literally no national TV games this year at all, except for that the last game of the season against the Colts. But yeah, man, it was perfect. I'm glad everybody finally get to see our young guys, our young team, and that was a good wild card game, man. Perfect.
Very wild card game. The city was buzzing. I seen a few Twitter posts from random, I don't know, Cleveland Browns sports podcasters or journalists trying to claim, Texans were pumping in fake noise. We don't do that. That stadium was packed out. I seen it from the video you sent off Rip. And then the videos, if y'all haven't seen it already, I kind of made a YouTube short with some of the clips, but Cam got the second pick six on video and the crowd was going crazy.
Crazy.
And with all that crowd noise, you can still hear Cam above everybody else going crazy. And so definitely happy to see it for the city. Like I said last week, I thought it was going to be a close game, and I thought maybe the Browns pulled that one out. But I was rooting for the boys in Houston, rooting for CJ Stroud. They came through. And now you got a date with the number one seed. Nothing to lose. You mean not even supposed to be here. So hey, all the pressure's on the Ravens. Who knows what can happen? CJ Stroud hits a few good plays.
Yeah.
Nerves start to tense up in Baltimore, and then we might have a game on our hands. But we're going to touch on that a little bit later. Next up, myself, Chiefs, and I hope y'all listened. I hope if you did tune in to Erik's podcast. I did a podcast with him that Tuesday last week. Called a couple shots on there. Had Pacheco over 60.5, like I told y'all. The under for the game. I did tell people to sprinkle on Travis Kelce touchdown. He was dropping the ball. I think one of his drops, he could have had a touchdown if he just made a defender miss. But, hey, we'll take what we can get. But I told y'all, man, in the cold weather, I think it was the fourth coldest game in NFL history. Them Dolphin boys didn't want nothing to do with the Chiefs on Saturday night, man. Tua, he's not built for the weather. It sucks because I don't know where Miami necessarily goes from here. If you look at the draft order, you got New England, Atlanta probably, Chicago possibly. Who else am I missing? It's one more team I'm missing. Oh, Washington. Some of those teams need a quarterback, so you can't even necessarily trade and move up, try to go get, what you think would be a lottery pick guy. I know Erik has said it. Listened to his podcast the other day. I think me and Cam have also expressed some of this, but possibly maybe you do a trade for Kyler Murray. They're the same type of build physically, but Kyler Murray's ceiling is exponentially higher. But as far as Miami goes, Buffalo's still going to be there. They've had your number. New York is back with Aaron Rodgers. We still don't know what that exactly looks like because the whole Achilles thing, but that's a formidable opponent. Patriots, new look with Gerard Mayo. This was a great year to, get a home playoff game, win the division. They sold it. Had to come to Arrowhead, and it was over from the start, man. L'Jarius Sneed. What did I tell? I've been saying this for the last month, and I'm mad at myself because I could have been betting the under on all these receivers props, and I just didn't do it. But I told y'all he was gonna lock Tyreek up. That under hit. He's cornerback one. It's a complete botch by the All-Pro voting team, Pro Bowl. He got snubbed in everything. He should literally be all first team, All-Pro, Pro Bowl. He's cornerback one. I don't care who tries to argue against it. I know Deron Bland had the pick six record. That's cool, but he still can't cover guys half the time. Sauce Gardner, I think that's really just media hype, and the fact he's in the New York market, he gets that nod because he didn't have as great a year as he did last year, and it definitely wasn't anywhere near Sauce. And then the offense, what I tell y'all, it wasn't pretty. We had our drops, but as long as we took care of the ball, there was no way Miami was going to win that game with our defense. 26-7, take it to the bank. Patrick Mahomes, I think something that's getting missed is, like I just said, it was the fourth coldest game in history. It pissed me off that we did it because I just knew we were going to. But we started off the game with like 4 throws in a row. And that let me know right there, like, oh, this is going to be a regular game for him. Like, even though it's negative 27 wind chill or whatever it was, it didn't matter. We were throwing the ball over all over the field. Rashee Rice, wide receiver 1, just saw a stat earlier today. I think he just set a record for rookies with minimum 100 targets. He has a 77% catch rate. So it sucks that it took us this long to actually get him involved in the offense, but now we're reaping those benefits. He's getting the most snaps at wide receiver. Him, Kelsey, Pacheco, that's the combo right there that's gonna take us all the way if we can make it there. But happy to see my Chiefs get the dub. And from my plan I laid out last week, first step was knocking out the Dolphins. I told y'all, bring me the Bills in Buffalo. Nobody's scared. Nobody fears Josh Allen and the Bills. And we here, got the matchup we wanted. Can't wait to talk about that a little bit later. That's enough for the Chiefs recap from me. Next up, Erik, Detroit Lions fan. It's been a long time coming, and I know you've been waiting the whole time to be able to say this and celebrate this. But Detroit Lions with a playoff victory for the first time in 32 years, and it came at the hands of your old quarterback, Matthew Stafford. How does it feel, man? I know it's got to be a great feeling.
I'm not going to lie, right after the game, I had no idea how to feel because I've never really experienced it before with my team in the NFL actually winning a playoff game. I got 22 text messages, 4 people I haven't talked to in years. One person I haven't talked to since April. It said April 20 of 21. I literally haven't talked to that guy in that many years, and he's sending a text message saying congratulations. So it was great. In terms of the game, obviously, I think Campbell outcoached McVay. Rams have this habit of getting cute with all their pre-snap motion, burned a couple timeouts in the second half. Them not having the timeouts, that prevented them from stopping the Lions running out the clock. Also, props to Campbell. He has this history, and we saw it in the Dallas game where he lets his emotions get the best of him, and he tries to go for it instead of just taking the points, taking the 3. Lions won that game because they were taking the field goals in the second half. I was a little concerned with Jared Goff, how he struggled in the second half against the pressure that the Rams were bringing. Next round with Bulls and the Tampa Bay, he does like to bring pressure. A little worried about that. Hutchinson was a beast, getting his Stafford, making him uncomfortable. Lions still do struggle stopping the pass. Puka 9 for 181. Lions are going to need Sutton to have a good game to stop Mike Evans. Concerned about Laporta's lack of usage. I think that had more to do with his injury. I think he's going to be a bigger part of the game plan this weekend. But also, I got to give props to Brad Holmes. He came in there with a vision of the guys that he wanted to have on that team, and they got guys. You mentioned the Dolphins earlier. I think the big thing that's missing from the Dolphins is they don't have any tough guys. You look at Detroit, you got Penny Sewell, you got Hutchinson, you got Joseph in the back. You have those tough guys. They're going to hold guys accountable. And that's why Detroit is winning, because they just have dudes. Their DBs are awful, but they have dudes that can make plays when the time is right and not back down in the big moment. I'm excited. I think they actually could fool around and have a close game in the NFC Championship if they make it that far against the 49ers.
I kind of share those sentiments too. Like I said, we're gonna touch on the divisional round. But yeah, man, I was excited for the Lions. Last week that was one of the picks me and Erik both agreed on. Actually, was Rams plus 3.5. While we were both kind of nervous that the Rams probably might pull it out in like heartbreaking fashion, Stafford, rips the heart out of the city of Detroit. Lions hold on, and the Rams covered plus 3.5. So it was a double win for Erik. Won some money. His team won the first playoff game in 30 years. Detroit, I know that city had to be on fire because, there's been nothing to really celebrate sports-wise down there for a long time. But now, hey, it's like the month of Michigan. Michigan football, national championship, Detroit first playoff game dub, the Fab Five back together courtside at a Michigan game. So things are looking up in Michigan. Detroit moving on to the divisional round, and they get another home game this week thanks to the Cowboys. And that is how we segue into this. I'm so sorry, Chris. I'm so sorry. But you were next up. Go ahead and tell us about this weekend. You opened up Sunday slate of Wildcard weekend with Cowboys versus the Packers, Dak versus Jordan Love, 2 seed versus 7 seed, and that game went how a lot of people didn't see it going. Go ahead and touch on that, Chris.
I'm just gonna make it short, sweet. Personally, bro, going into the game, y'all know what type of Cowboys fan I am. So if I'm not optimistic, there's a reason why. I've been doing this for a long time. It feels like, right? They started off, and Bryce called it out, and I kicked him out the group chat for it because it pissed me off. But they started off with the ball. They took 8 minutes off the clock. They ran 12 plays, and 7 of those plays was Aaron Jones running the ball. That whole possession, and the next possession, we only ran zone coverage. We did not blitz. We didn't show any pressure on the line. We didn't show any pressure on Jordan Love. And when they scored that first possession, I was like, okay, that's cool. We did get a sack before that. We had a tackle for loss earlier in that drive. So I'm like, all right, defense came to play. Offense just got to score now, right? It's going to be a shootout. We got the ball. I think we got one first down, and then we went 3-and-out. I was like, all right, that's cool. Defense came to play though. We saw them, they gonna fix the run. They just running the ball. Let's just blitz. Let's show some pressure at least, right? Nah, we back in zone coverage. We back in zone coverage, and Aaron Jones is chopping off 4 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 10 yards, like another touchdown. We get the ball back. Is that what happened? No. We didn't get the ball back yet when he was doing that. We made them punt, and then we got the ball back, and it was 7-0. And Dak threw that interception. And when Dak threw the interception, I completely checked out from the game. I completely checked out because once we didn't score on the first drive, because if the opponent scores on the first drive for us, we like 2-5 at home, right? Like just over the past 2 seasons. Once we didn't score on that first drive and Green Bay did score, and I realized we weren't going to stop the run, and then Dak threw interception in Green Bay's red zone, I completely checked out. I was like, and that's about the time I started texting y'all, like, it's over, like, we lost, And sure enough, that's what started happening. They ended up getting the ball back. They realized that we weren't putting any pressure on Jordan Love, so then he started slicing and dicing. They weren't even running the ball with Aaron Jones like that no more. Jordan Love was just going crazy. Honestly, I can't even speak on the game anymore after that because I stopped watching it. I was on Twitter scrolling, looking at all the memes. Word of the day, Dallas. That's that last game they gonna play of the season. Like, honestly, like, I see it all, bro. And the thing about it, like, unfortunately, it doesn't shock me because it's what I've gotten used to as being a Dallas fan. What shocks me and what shouldn't shock me is what happened today with us finding out that McCarthy's returning, us finding out that Jerry probably is not going to step down, right? If McCarthy's staying and Jerry's not stepping down, Dak is going to stay there. So we're literally going to just run it back. And I guarantee you, I'm 99.9% sure that nothing is going to change in the offseason. And we're literally going to be the definition of insanity and try to do this all over again with the same people. I'm not gonna get into what I want to say next because it's kind of the next section is what I want to say next. Yeah, so I'm not gonna get into it too much, but I mean it's just another heartbreaking loss. It's really nothing new, right? Very humbling moment. I didn't go into the season believing in the Cowboys. By the time we got midway through, I still didn't believe in them. When we beat the Eagles, it was a great win, but I didn't believe in them. And they sat there and decided to win the division, really convince people that, it's their year. And it just wasn't their year. So
That's fair. It's fair. And last but not least, man, Cam, I know you got a lot to get off your chest. Your Eagles took a loss, but I know you've been seeing this was coming, for the last month and a half, and you're on record of saying all that. You said it last week, but the fan in you still believed. And then Monday night in Tampa Bay, Nick Sirianni, Brian Johnson, I know decides not to coach, I guess, anymore, or not calling the defensive plays anymore. So Matt Patricia, all of them, combination of just terrible coaching, terrible play calling. Tell us about your Philly boys and how the season came to end. How you
I'm gonna,
feeling?
be, I'm gonna be honest. I've never been so glad of a season being ended right now. As a fan, I've been wanting the season to end like since the Seahawks lost, to be honest. Because that game right there was the game that we should have won. Like, I think a lot of people say on social media that us losing to the 49ers was the downfall of Philly. Me personally, I feel like once we lost to Seattle, it was no more, because once we lost to San Fran, it's like that was like their Super Bowl. That makes sense. They've been wanting revenge since last year's NFC Championship when Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson and Jimmy G, everyone else had got hurt. So they want their revenge. So that was like their Super Bowl. They pulled up in all black, and everything like that. So I never been so happy for a season to end. Like I've been calling for it. I'm like, look, I don't even care. Like, we had one of our friends ask me, hey, should I put a second half bet in? I said, bro, follow your heart. I truly don't care. Like, do as you please, bro. Don't ask me. I'm not gonna tell you anything. I don't even care about the season no more. Like, follow your heart, bro. Do what you want to do with your money. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. I already lost $100. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. But no. So with the game, it was a very sloppy game from both sides, because with Mike Evans dropping the ball a lot, with like missed snaps and Baker getting sacks, it's like almost as if the Buccaneers wanted us to win. Like, they'll give the game to us, but we're like, no, you get it back. No, you get it back. Like, tug of war, in a sense. But like I said, the last 7 games were 1-6. The only game we had beat was the Giants, and that was like a nail biter right there. So we was bound to lose. Like, I don't know exactly what went down in the locker room. That'll be another topic once we get into that with the coaching. But more so is, ever since we lost to Seattle, just like the whole confidence went down. Everybody was just pointing fingers. You seen Jalen Hurts basically saying his comments, and everyone else saying their comments. AJ Brown dipping off. It was just a mess. It was a whole lot of distractions. And then on top of that, everybody came in with the mindset of like, we're defeated already. AJ Brown didn't show up. Julio Jones get hurt in the game. Goddard and Hurts having some miscues to where it's like drop balls or like, sideline talking. It was just a lot of miss right there. And I think the game that I'm not upset that we lost, because, like I said, I wanted the season to end. I'm upset like some of the plays was actually working, and then it's like it's like they caught it on accident. Like, you see DeAndre Swift get about 20 yards rushing, and then I'm like, okay, so why we not? I'm literally screaming. You seen the text message? I'm literally texting the chat, run the ball. Instead, they want to do wide receiver screens with Julio Jones at his age, and he's getting a concussion after that. Or you want to see they doing an accidental vertical with Smitty, and he's getting about he at the goal line. And I'm like, okay, that worked. Why are we not continuing it? It's like they did on accident. Like, oh, that works. Let's stop doing it. It's like, I don't want to keep doing that. It's like a risky play. No, keep doing it, because you're running the ball and, throwing vertical routes or doing like a slant route. That's what he did. And he took it almost took it to the house. He got tackled. He's like right at the 5. Why we stop running the ball? Like, why we stop doing plays like that? It's like they're doing it on accident. It's like they want to lose. But then the Buccaneers having dropped passes from Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and everybody like that. And on top of Philly don't know how to tackle. You get like Bradbury literally had Rashad White tackled and he just let go. I'm like, dude, you had him wrapped. You had him like lost for like at least 3 yards, and you just let him go, and he gained like 7-8 yards. Like, what's going on here? Like, on the defensive side, the only people who showed up was like Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Milton Williams. Them ones who really showed up. Everyone else was like acting like they were afraid to tackle, and you getting burned. And by Trey Palmer and everyone else, it's like game was over. As soon as I saw the safety from Hurts, I'm like, yeah, it's a wrap. Like, it was 9-16. So I'm like, okay, they got they still got time. They can get like a stop, because the defense doing good at one point and they just gave up. But as soon as he got that safety off a boneheaded play, and I'm like, bro, just run the ball right there. And instead, he want to run out the pocket and intentional grounding, and that's the safety. I'm like, bro, this game is over. I literally texted, I was like, GG's, bro. That's it. Like, it's it. And then when I say Trey Palmer took the house, that was really game. Like, you know what? I'm gonna turn this off. So in the offseason, I don't know what's gonna be the next. I know Kelsey retired. Like, he went out and said he done. Like, and he didn't officially announce it. I know it was like a locker room buzz that got out. Obviously, like people talking. He said he gonna announce it on his podcast like later on when it's time. But it shows you that it's time for a different culture change. Like, This been a repeated cycle with Philly since '99, going way back to Andy Reid first hire. So it's something that needs to change as far as that, because we went from that to everyone else coming in. So Chip Kelly, Doug Peterson, now Nick Sirianni. It's a repeated cycle of you win, you lose, you win, you lose. So we're gonna see. But I've been waiting for the season to be over. I'm so glad it's over. Like, you understand.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, yeah, that's everybody's, monologue. Podcast went 3-2 in wild card weekend. Chiefs, Texans, Lions all advanced. Cowboys, Eagles eliminated. And Cowboys, Eagles kind of segues into our next convos. We're gonna kick it off with the Cowboys. I know Chris was almost touching into what he wanted to say, so we're gonna pass it to him first. But it was announced over the last 2 days that the Cowboys will be making no changes to the coaching staff. Unless Dan Quinn possibly gets hired as a head coaching job or gets a head coaching job, which I don't see happening after the way, the defense played this past weekend. He will also be back as the DC under Mike McCarthy. Dak still looks like he's going to be the quarterback, even though I think he's due $59.4 million this year, unless you want to give him a contract extension and renegotiate, some of the money, or if they do somehow, some way want to trade him, he has a no trade clause. So there's that kind of hurdle to jump through as well. But with that information, Chris, McCarthy confirmed to be returning to Dallas next year. What moves, if any, can Dallas make for it to truly be their year, or at least make it to the NFC Championship game? Because I saw a stat earlier in the last 3 seasons. One of the main arguments that they've been using for McCarthy coming back, and Jerry said it out of his own mouth, like the last 3 regular seasons he's won 12 games, and so that puts him at 36 over the last 3 seasons. 3 other teams have all reached 35 plus wins, I believe it is, in the last 3 years. Those other 3 teams are San Francisco 35-16, Buffalo 35-15, and Kansas City is number 1, 37-14. Kansas City, obviously, we have the Super Bowl loss within these 3 years, and another AFC Conference Championship loss. The Bills, they have a couple divisional losses there with another AFC Conference Championship loss back in 20 to us. San Francisco, they've reached the conference championship a few times as well. Dallas, the only team ever to have 12-win seasons back to back to back and not make a conference championship in not one of those seasons. So McCarthy's back, running it back. What's got to change, Chris? Or have you I know just knowing you and the fan you are, have you just completely given up and it is what it is?
You know I could never give up. You know I could never give up. I can't ever give up, boy. Dallas Cowboys like crack, boy. I'm gonna keep coming back. I can't give up. Nah, look, man. The thing about it is with that team, I'm not upset with the personnel. The reason I think a lot of people wanted McCarthy gone is, and I did too, but I think he's kind of a pushover. And obviously I think that's why Jerry Jones hired him, right? You don't hire. Jerry Jones is not gonna hire a coach that he can't control, and we've seen that, and we've seen what happens when that coach demands control back, right? They get fired after giving you 2 Super Bowls and then building a team for you to win that 3rd one the following year with a coach that actually did anything. He didn't do nothing to actually contribute to that. But the changes, I would say, significant changes, it would have to be, I believe that we need to probably get an offensive coordinator that is a bit more vocal and has a say in calling plays. I'm not too upset with the way Mike calls plays because I think Dak has a lot of say in that as well. So it's not just Mike calling them. But I think a third mind with those two, because they're not offensive geniuses, right? Mike, for the larger part of his career, has had one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time under his belt. So that kind of helped him out. But he doesn't have that this time. He has Dak Prescott. So having somebody that can help them offensively probably help. On the defensive side, because like the offense, I don't have a problem with the offense. I think maybe we should get another running back, or maybe get Rico Dowdle some more reps to keep Pollard from trying to, like, for example, that last game they gave Pollard the ball. He had like a nice little 7-yard rush. I was really proud of it. And y'all let me know if I freeze and stuff because y'all freezing on my screen. But
Good.
You good?
okay, cool. Okay, yeah. So we had one play where we gave Pollard the ball. He had like a nice 7-yard rush. It was a really nice rush, and then they ran it with him again. And that's not something that we saw last year when we had Zeke. Right? Typically, it'd be Pollard, then it'd be Zeke, and maybe be Zeke again, then be Pollard. So they were repping him out. I think for the most part, Pollard gets fatigued, and once he does a powerful run like that, he can't do it again. So maybe getting Rico some more touches on the offensive side. But on the defensive side, I think well, we got that one. I sent Cam a TikTok about it earlier, but that one linebacker rookie, like Overshown, I think is his name, Marbion Overshown. I want to see him come back. I want to see what he looks like. We're going to get Van Der Esch back, so we're going to have a solid linebacker core. Micah, obviously, he can play anything, probably aside from safety and deep DB, right? What I want to see from Micah is probably more of a more leadership. I think what we've seen on social media is that he's a guy that's kind of to himself. He focuses on himself. And not to call him selfish, I don't think he's selfish, but I think he's more so thinking like, I need to succeed if I want to be great. And that's cool, but he has to be able to convince the rest of his team that we need to succeed so I can be great, right? It's not just going to, like, his numbers are great, right? It shows for themselves, but it ain't going to matter if you never get a chip at the end of the day. So, I mean, other than those things, I really don't see. I mean, we'll get Diggs back. I'd like to get a solid cornerback. I like Bland for the excitement, but like as we all know, he's not actually good when it comes to coverage. Man coverage, he gets smoked. He is a bit smaller. And I really didn't notice it until we played Seattle and DK was all over him. But then when we played Green Bay, I didn't notice how big Green Bay's wide receiver core is. Like they're tall. And he was getting caught over a lot. So I would like to get a more serviceable cornerback to replace. I don't know if I want to say replace Bland, but like I feel like if you're gonna bring Trayvon back, why have Bland out there? That's the same person, right? So and probably get rid of Gilmore. Not a fan of him after that last game. I think he probably had money on. I think he had money on Green Bay, bro. I genuinely think he had money on Green Bay. There's no way. There's no way. I'd like to get rid of him. Great veteran core for the year, but that's all you are. You know, let's go get somebody else. Let's get an actual safety out there that a little bit younger that we can mold. I like Dan. You know, I don't know what that was he did that last game. I'm telling you, they had money on that game, bro. I think we threw that game. There's no way we threw that game, bro. We threw that game. That's why we worth so much, because we be betting. We be betting money. I think we threw that game because there's no way we hadn't ran zone coverage like that all season, and we run zone coverage that whole game. So I don't know. I like Dan. He's cool, but I don't know what the hell that was. That pissed me off. So other than that, though, I'm not really too upset with what we have going on. I just definitely won't be getting my hopes up ever until we get to the Super Bowl. We got to get there. I'm okay if we get there. We don't got to win, but if we get there, I'm like, okay, cool. We won an NFC championship. We got to the bowl. I'm okay with that.
You say that.
But
Witnessing your team lose a Super Bowl is another type of pain that I can speak on, especially if it's in terrible fashion as well. But as the podcast guest, Erik, I'm going to pass it to you next. What do you think are some viable solutions for the Cowboys, since McCarthy is, in fact, coming back, and more than likely Dan Quinn will be back as well?
Just looking at it, they have 16 free agents. Pollard, Smith, Chris's boy Gilmore is a free agent. Lewis, Armstrong, Fowler, all key free agents that they're going to be losing. I think the two big things that stood out for me, they only rushed for 1,920 rushing yards. That is their lowest since 2020. I really think they need to get a guy that can be in every down back. Looking at the free agent market, my guesses are either you go with Josh Jacobs. He's young, only 25. He's not going to be in Las Vegas next year. They're going to go with Zaire White. You can go with Gus Edwards, or you can go with Singletary. I think those are the three guys you kind of look to target to kind of be your lead back, get back to that rushing game when they did have the success. I totally agree. You need an OC. I want to see a young guy. I want to see an inventive guy come in there. The guy I'm throwing out there is my boy Buster Faulkner from Georgia Tech. He came in there, completely revamp that offense. That team literally had zero talent, and that offense was able to put up numbers against the SEC. I think it would be a great hire. My question, one more thing. They can't stop the run. They drafted Smith from Michigan, and it didn't help. I think the guy that makes the most sense to me is Vita Vea. He is under contract to 2027, but if he's still on the roster after March 13th or whatever that date is in March, he has buyout clauses in it. Right now, there's no buyout clauses, so I think he's going to get cut from Tampa Bay. I think that's a good guy in the middle that can help the Cowboys stop opposing teams rushing, because you look, the Lions were able to run on him, the Bills were able to run on him, and as Chris mentioned, the Packers were able to run. So you really got to shore up that front four against the run. My question to Chris, because Dak's contract's coming right up. Dak Prescott or Justin Fields? Who would you want as your QB?
Give me Justin, bro. Give me Justin, because I'm a type of person where if something's not working, let's try something else. Right? I don't want to keep trying something that's not working. We've given him plenty of chances, and like it's okay. It's okay to realize like, hey, this is not it. Right? What's not okay is to not try something else. If something else don't work, okay, then cool. We know that don't work either. Let's keep moving on. I hate stagnancy. So give me Justin Fields.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Which one of the Cams want to take it next? Swan, Sanders?
I could do this one. I think the one thing that can improve the Cowboys, obviously first stopping the run, is a ton of pending free agents on the line. Vita Vea is a great option. The one thing I would say is definitely look into another running game. I know everybody mentioned Josh Jacobs and Gus Edwards, Singletary as well. But the one running back y'all linked to, I don't know how this happened, was Henry, because he obviously his time in Tennessee is up. So that's like another option y'all can look into. He's not looking for a hefty contract. He just want to win. So it's somehow, some way, that's a 6'3", 200, maybe 45-pound running back y'all can get in, who still has a ton of tank in him left. He had the quietest 1,200 yards ever. Like, I didn't even know he rushed that much because Tennessee was losing. So that's somebody you can look into. Definitely look into the linebacker core. I know everybody's talking about like Leighton Vander-Esch, but he can't stay healthy. And I remember back then y'all was trying to put in a duo with him and Jalen. That didn't work out. So with that being said, if you look into the free agency, Devin White in Tampa Bay, he's not getting re-signed. They let him go. Look into him. It's a couple more linebackers. Wagner's leaving Seattle, possibly, or he come back in 1 year. Veteran presence, he ain't got to do a whole lot of snaps, but he can coach the other linebackers I have to learn how to cover. A one key player I would love for y'all to get, which is going to be kind of pricey, but at the same time, it could be kind of risk, is getting Jalen Johnson from Chicago. Obviously, he wants to win. He's arguably one of the best corners, if not the best one this year, just didn't get enough recognition. He could have been one of the best first-team All-Pros, Pro Bowl, whatever. But with Chicago losing, obviously, they got overlooked. Definitely look and see if you get his availability coming in. The offense is okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with the offense. It's just literally stopping the run. And he can play man. I know it's something y'all doing all year. He can play man and he can play zone. So that's probably like a key player. I feel like that's not talked about enough, that can benefit a lot of players that need – a lot of teams, that needs like the secondary improvement. But, I mean, getting Josh Jacobs would definitely be great. He's young. He wants the contract. Only 25 years old, going on 26. Obviously, they're going with White next year, so I'll definitely look into him. And that's pretty much my components right there. If I say offensive coordinator-wise, I'm not too sure Manny is in the league-wise. I know he want to go with somebody who's like a big name, so everybody look in college. But I would go with that because I know when y'all let go of Kellen Moore, obviously I want to get the keys to Mike McCarthy, which worked because Dak had the best year of his career, but it didn't transition into the playoffs. So I love the idea of Erik saying that, to bring in like a young offensive coordinator, who can take over the keys and, bring in like new ideas to the offense, not only to like elevate the game, obviously offensively, but get y'all over that hump and finally break the curse in the playoffs.
Okay, I like it. Cam Sanders, how you feeling about the Cowboys, man? I know it's funny we ending with you and me. Me and Cam were both texting yesterday, and I think it was it whatever week y'all played the 49ers. I want to say that was like week 5 or 6. And then remember I had bet big on the Cowboys. I was like, this is the year they're gonna beat the 49ers. They're gonna have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Obviously, we know what happened that game. I came back on the podcast, came back to my senses and reality, and we both had our own rants about why the Cowboys were gonna do what we just witnessed this past week. And then we get this news. So is anything changed for you, Cam, from our previous thoughts? Is there anything that they can do to make us or make you change your initial thoughts, or how do you see the Cowboys moving forward with McCarthy?
So it seems like y'all finna go all in with these, these last couple years. It seemed like you're going all in with Dan Quinn and McCarthy. So if y'all going all in, you might as well go out with a bang. E hit on the head. If Dan Quinn don't get a head coaching job somewhere else, what's that defensive assistant or whatever y'all had, the black guy with the dreads?
Oh, Al Harris.
I signed him as
I like him.
I sign him as a DC. I get it, like he said, I go get a young offensive coordinator right now that's that's balling, or whoever it may be, whatever. I go get him. And also for the offensive side, what you can do is CD is good. I feel like he's receiving one, but I think he needs like someone to complement him. So
like I said, that. Yeah.
So like I said, if y'all going all in, go all in. Go all in. And honestly, Stephon Diggs it don't really seem like he's happy in Buffalo right now. I'm telling you, if they lose the divisional round,
he's available this weekend if Snead does what I think he's gonna do.
He's going to win out. Hey, if y'all going all in, I'll go. If I was y'all, I'll go make a call over there to Buffalo. Send whatever they would like. I know he probably gonna be a little bit expensive, but if y'all going all in, I'll go get him. And then on the defensive side, y'all had safeties playing linebacker. So it's like,
we what's that boy number 6? Jones or Johnson something. We had him up. We had Lewis up there too. Yeah, I don't know what that was about.
So I wasn't really deep in the linebacker, core or whatever, because I guess you got guys out like Vander Esch and Overshawn. I think Overshawn is going to be a really good ball player because I think he can cover, and then he also stop the run or whatnot. So once you get Overshawn back, he can be in the middle or whatever, and then also obviously Vander Esch is still there, but I would probably I'll probably go draft a linebacker in the draft this year. Whoever that may be. So yeah, that's how I'll fix things. I know you don't like Bland, or you think y'all should probably get rid of him. I probably wouldn't get rid of him just yet. I think he's better in the nickel side than he is on the outside. He's really not really an outside corner like that because he originally was playing nickel before Diggs went down. So I put Bland back in nickel. Gilmore probably it's time for him to hang it up. It's probably time for him to hang up. I don't know if he was dealing with some type of injury or whatnot, but
it was a bit.
Yeah, but Jalen Johnson, that's a good name for the Bears. That'd be a good a good corner to go get or whatnot. Yeah, so that's how I'll fix things. Go get a young offense coordinator. If Dan Quinn do leave, go sign that DC right behind him, whatever. And the run game, TP needs somebody that's gonna complement him also. So like maybe it's Devin Singletary, maybe it's Josh Jacobs. If TP do leave, you get Josh Jacobs. And I think Saquon is a free agent also, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So maybe I go get Saquon. He could even be a workhorse or whatever. I know he'd be a little bit banged up or whatever, but yeah, that's how I'll fix it.
The sad part about this is,
go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, Well, I was just gonna say the sad thing about it is that we don't do anything in free agency.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
It's just tough.
Because another running back
I like
I'll say
the
we can
idea.
mention. Oh,
I like the
you go
idea
ahead.
of pairing Lamb with somebody, throwing this name out there, older guy, veteran, free agent. He is a leader. He won't take any BS. What about Mike Evans?
Mike Evans, that'd be
Yeah,
another
I was gonna
good one.
say Texas
I've been
boy.
talking
I don't
about.
know if I know the
Yeah.
Houston connection, obviously, but
I mean, it's Texas still home though, so I mean,
yeah,
he probably
Yeah.
would love being a Cowboy. So
I feel like probably growing up, he was probably more so a Cowboy fan than Texans fans. I feel
Yeah.
like I don't know that for sure. I'm just speaking off the top of my head, but I feel like that's
Well,
what he needs to.
ain't Malik a Cowboys fan?
He
Malik
is. He is.
Tezano?
So
He is. So
yeah.
he probably was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny enough, Eric, we actually went to high school with the kid who is Mike Evans' stepbrother. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, and then me and Cam actually, even though we didn't know each other at the time we were younger, we used to go watch Mike Evans play basketball because that was his sport until his senior year of high school, and he just so happened to play football that year at
Okay.
Galveston Ball High, and then Texas A&M, rest is history, Hall of
Yeah.
Fame receiver now. So I'm not mad at that. As for me, I'm gonna just
Throw it
start with
away.
this. I'm gonna just start with this precursor. In that episode, I started off with my rant, and I hold this belief to this day, and I tweeted out yesterday too. If you have Mike McCarthy as head coach and you have Dak Prescott at quarterback, the Cowboys will never make the NFC Championship or make it to the Super Bowl. That's just how I feel. I don't care what moves they make, they'll just find a way. Like Stephen A says, they will let you down and they will find a way somehow, some way. This year, it was more brutal than we've seen in the past, but 27-0 at home to 7 seed Packers team, the youngest team in the NFL, that's unacceptable. Make whatever excuse you want, but that can't happen. I'm not on the blame Dak more, blame McCarthy more. They're both equal.
They're both
Dan
equal.
Quinn equal. They all deserve equal blame. They all didn't show up to play. Funny enough, Dak, said, "Oh, I won't throw 10 interceptions this year." He threw 9. And then he threw 2 more in the playoffs, and whoop-de-doo, he's at 10 and 11. So, yeah, man, I'll say that as a precursor. But for topic's sake, if they're gonna have any possible chance, Dak and his post-game presser, he said, the reporter asked him, "Do you think McCarthy should be gone because of those rumors?" And he's like, "No, McCarthy is responsible for all my success. Shoot, if he's on the hot seat, I should be on the hot seat too." Well, yeah, y'all both should be on the hot seat. So since you're on the hot seat and you got this hefty $60 million final year in your deal right now, let's go back to the table. Let's renegotiate a 1-year deal. Take lesser money. I don't know what the tag is this year for quarterbacks, but just ballparking numbers, I think Daniel Jones is making like 40. Let's go the 45, 48 range, 1-year deal. Prove it. You can get us to at least an NFC championship. We can come back and discuss. Do this because y'all have Trey Lance now, like you said, Chris. We're at the point of insanity. Something's got to change. Since we're gonna do this all in, run it back. That can only come back on a 1-year deal. If nothing changes next year, you have to move on, literally. And I was sitting there at my desk at work today before thinking over the podcast stuff, and I was like, what can I compare this to? Because we always say Kirk Cousins, but that's too easy. And then it hit me. I've literally watched this all before. Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, and his Dallas Cowboys are literally my Chiefs with Alex Smith. Every year, we were good. It was way better than, just the average seasons we were having where we go 7-9, 6-10. We had some 2-14s in there. We get Alex Smith, Andy Reid. We're winning. But when we get to the playoffs, we don't win. Last year of Alex Smith, he was having MVP numbers by his standards. He had his best year yet. And what do? We go to the wild card game and we lose to Marcus Mariota and the Titans. And that year we go draft Patrick Mahomes, or we have Patrick Mahomes because we drafted him the previous year because we're like, hey, it's been 3 years now. Alex Smith is not getting anything done. We got to make some change if it doesn't happen this year. And I know revisionist history, people, oh, Andy Reid, Hall of Fame this, Hall of Fame that, best coach ever. And I'm not saying I disagree with those sentiments, but there was a point in time after we blew a game. The year we drafted Patrick Mahomes, that year we lost the playoff game to the Steelers at home where we scored 2 touchdowns. They scored 0 touchdowns, and we lost the game. And at that point, there were real articles coming out. Is Andy Reid on the hot seat, and should the Chiefs move on from Andy Reid? Because what did he have? Poor clock management, and he couldn't get the quarterback to get him over the hump. The same problems that Dallas and McCarthy and Dak are facing right now, right here. So we brought Alex Smith back on 1 year prove it. He couldn't prove it. So I don't know what Trey Lance has shown since he's been in the building since y'all got him. But if it's not him, y'all need to make some move in this draft to get somebody you think could potentially sit behind Dak this year and take over the reins next year if all else fails. So that's move 1. Move 2, I like Eric's idea about the young OC. But if you're not going to go young, I think this benefits all parties. And I know I'm biased, but Ron Rivera just got fired. Their coaching staff is gone. Go get Erik Bieniemy solely because you can keep McCarthy's offense because it's good for Dak or whatever. You need some type of attitude in that building to hold those offensive players accountable, hold them in check. That's the one thing we're missing this year, and it's been pissing me off because we have all these drops, undisciplined plays, penalties. EB would fix that because he wasn't scared to pause getting somebody ass on the sideline, in the locker room, in practice. That's what we needed. Jimmy Johnson, at halftime, you've seen how fired up he was, and it's been a topic of conversation with McCarthy this week. He held people accountable, got on people. They dropped the clip today of Troy Aikman getting on the line's ass. Y'all need that. Dak, no more soft stuff. Like, yeah, McCarthy's cool. You know, y'all buddy. Y'all go good together. He needs EB in his ear. Like, nah, you got to clean this up. You can't do that. You in year 9, this can't happen anymore. So go get EB if nothing else. If y'all can't find a young, OC that Jerry's willing to take a flyer on, get EB. Keep McCarthy's offense, incorporate some of EB stuff, obviously, but that's really there just for enforcer mentality because y'all need something on that offensive side of the ball because y'all don't have it anywhere. CD and Dak looked like they wanted to cry 2 minutes into the game this week, and I was like, what is going on over there? Like, this is a wild card game versus 7 seed. Why do y'all look so sad-eyed? So that can't happen. 2, like y'all said, y'all got to get better on defense. Cam pointed out Van Der Esch, he's injury riddled. It's probably not going to stop. Like, this is who he is. Unfortunately, NFL is a war of attrition. It sucks because he's going to leave my Chiefs, and he just tweeted out he probably played his last game at Arrowhead. Go get Willie Gay. He is a great linebacker. He should be a linebacker 1 anywhere else, but because we got Nick Bolton as the green dot, we got Drew Tranquill this last year in free agency, and then we got Leo Chenal, who we drafted a couple years ago, who's kind of came into form. He's not going to get the opportunity for a second contract with us because our linebacker room is full. He can cover running backs out the field. He's quick. He can be that guy. He's been relatively healthy his whole tenure with us, and he won't be a linebacker that's going to break the bank or anything. So there goes that because I know y'all are kind of in a cap restraint. This one is my crazy one. I don't agree with it. Y'all won't do it. But if there is any real, like, shake it up change, this is y'all gonna have to pay Dak if y'all gonna stick with Dak. Micah Parsons is about to be the highest paid defensive end in league history. You have to trade CD for whatever you can get a buttload haul of picks, players, whatever, but only because I think we're about to see in the next 2 to 3 years the same thing that we witnessed happen to the running back market this year, where owners basically said we're done paying y'all because there's a surplus of y'all and y'all can all do the same things. We are in the richest era ever for wide receiver. There's like a solid, if we wanted to sit here and go through a list, and we won't do it, but if we just wanted to really think about it, there's a solid 17 to 18 receivers that we can make a great argument that are top 10 receivers. And that's without including that we're about to get Marvin Harrison Jr., Roma Dunes, and Malik Neighbors in the draft this year, and they could easily jump into that conversation as well next year, depending on where they land. But there's probably 20 top 10 receivers you can get anywhere as long as you build a rapport with the quarterback. That's where I'm like, you can't do it because CD had his best year with Dak, but you're not going to be able to pay him, pay Micah, pay Dak, and then have a solid team to actually be a contender, which is what y'all want to do since y'all are running it back. So if that's the crazy thing, like I said. But if you got to get picked somewhere and alleviate some cap space because you don't renegotiate Dak's deal, or if, say, when I pray to God y'all don't do this, say y'all renegotiate Dak's deal, Dak is probably going to get a 5-year deal worth $300 million, and it's probably going to be a little over half of that fully guaranteed. So that's going to handicap y'all for sure. So at that point, you might realistically have to look at viable trade options and how much you can get back for CD and what receivers you could get to replace him and what you could move up in the draft to go get another wide receiver one on a rookie deal. So all that defense, like I said, that you're going to have to draft offensive line well, unless y'all want to go into free agency for that. But like I said, cap. So you really need to just hit on the draft. But granted, I'll give Jerry credit there. He has hit on a lot of draft picks over the years. So I'm confident y'all can do that. Offensive line, defensive line, y'all need to fill some of those gaps there. Corner, that's a tough one. I like Cam's Jalen Johnson idea. I'm praying to God we don't do it, but L'Jarius Sneed this is his contract year. We need to pay him. But knowing Brett Beach, it's very possible he might let him test free agency waters. So, I mean, I don't know what his price tag is, but obviously he's CB1. That could possibly be a thing there. But yeah, I don't agree with running it back. But Jerry, he's insane. You're going to do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Cowboys fans, if you are going to build and get your hopes up and think like, okay, we just got to do this, that, like all the things we just named, think, oh, it's going to be a chance. Just temper it right now. Because like I said to start off, Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, it's not going to work. Mike McCarthy is 6-9 in his playoff career, I believe. Some of those games war with Aaron Rodgers. He's now 1-3 with Dallas and Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is 2-5 in his playoff career. His 2 wins have been against last year's Tampa Bay Bucs team, who people gave it great credit at the time because, he beat Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. But they were an 8-9 team that was terrible. They just so happened to be in the NFC South, so someone had to come out of that division. They won that one. The win before that, I want to say it was like was it? I can't.
It was the year. No,
I'm blanking on who it was, but I know his rookie year y'all lost to Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. The next year y'all won the wild card game, played terrible in the divisional versus the Rams, come back, lose the wild card versus San Francisco. Last year beat Tom Brady, lose the divisional versus San Francisco, bad game. This year bad game. We're repeating the same cycle. Nothing is going to change drastically because the main excuse I keep hearing, well, if we had this and we had that and it was a perfect scenario. But like Cam always says, if you're going to pay Dak $60 million, you pay quarterbacks that money who can operate when it's not a perfect scenario. He can't operate. He can't win y'all games when it's not perfect. So it's a wash at that point. But my God, you're going to run it back, Jerry, because you're cheap. You want to do things your way. You want to keep bringing in money, and you keep bringing the money by winning regular season games. Keep, the seats filled in your stadium. And I was talking to my boss today right before I left work, who's also a Cowboys fan. And I was telling him, like, man, if y'all ever wanted to seriously, like, put Jerry in a chokehold, y'all have to boycott his games to force, like, actual change. Because that's about the only other way he's going to move off his spot. But other than that, we can discuss all this stuff, all these changes, all these moves to make. At the end of the day, you have a poor head coach, an average quarterback who can't win you games. You're not gonna win too many games when you have to win in January or February, because that's just how football goes. You gotta one of those has to be elite. Like if you have to have an elite coach, good game manager. If you don't got an elite coach, you gotta have an elite quarterback who can carry you. They're both just good to average. Mike McCarthy's Super Bowl was 14 years ago now? Like, that's a wash. He had Aaron Rodgers. He only got that one Super Bowl. He's had great defenses, decent offense, 1-3 to show for it. And last thing I'll say before we move on to the next topic, because I just seen it in random Twitter threads, YouTube comment sections, Cowboys fans, there is no silver lining of that game this past weekend. The final score was 48-32. At one point, it was 27-0 after Dak's pick six. He then drove the ball down the field. Time, I think it was like 10 seconds left. Y'all have 0 timeouts. Y'all are at like the 8-yard line. The one thing you can't do is throw short of the goal line because you don't have any timeouts. What does Dak do? He throws short of the goal line, but he gets saved because it's a penalty. So that saved y'all there. Y'all got points. Y'all almost went into the half 27-0. But then second half come out, same ass whooping. It's 48-16. LaFleur then takes all the starters out of the game. And he actually said he was pissed at himself for doing that. And that's when y'all got the score back to 32 and made it, oh my God, there might be a chance. That game was a ass whooping from start to finish, and you had nothing ever, no hope ever. Those Dak stats, those numbers, the score, those are all empty calories, as Shannon Sharp says. There's no hope there to look for. So don't think that that's a saving grace and something you can hold on to build on for next year. It's not it. This is insanity, and it pisses me off to read like some of y'all's like comments and stuff. And it's like, how have y'all done this for 30 years? Because like Chris said, like you've seen Erik can attest it. You've seen the Lions go through multiple rebuilds now, an 0-16 year to finally get to this point, and they're more than likely knock on wood, Erik, because I'm rooting for y'all. They're more than likely about to be in an NFC Championship game before the Dallas Cowboys in that time span that they haven't won a playoff game. It's unacceptable at this point. It really
See,
is.
but like I said, like organizations like his, like y'all are lucky, or like Cam Sanders, like y'all are lucky, bro. Like y'all had the opportunity to go through rebuilds. Jerry simply will not allow us to rebuild. We will go 4-12 one season. We will not get anybody off the free agency market. We'll draft hard. That's cool. And then we'll go 11-5. Well, I'm thinking of the old days. So 11-5, and they'll be like, okay, yeah, we were good. But we do nothing with that past, February, right? We never got the opportunity to rebuild. We've had the same identity for the past 20 odd years. Like, until that happens, I will never be fully into that team. I will root for them when they come on, when I see them. Like, I'll remain a fan, but there's no point in putting hope in something that's never going to want to change itself to be better.
Yeah, and
I'd rather have a 0-16 season trying something new than having a 17-0 season doing the same stuff and losing the playoff.
That's fair. And I forgot one point. I was gonna make this. Since y'all are running it back, just beware. Like we talked about this all season. The NFC East, I think, is what now 23 years in a row. Someone new wins the division every year. It switches. So by history standards, y'all are running it back, but y'all more than likely will not win the division next year. And you'll be on the road in the playoffs. And then the other problem with running it back is, like we said, last year the Chargers blew that 27-0 lead. It's like, you should probably fire Staley right now because you've seen everything you possibly can. You're going to lose the team. They said, no, we're going to trust Staley, run it back. Every loss compounded this year, and every time he stepped into the podium, is the 27-0 loss still lingering from our 27-0 blown lead? Is that still lingering? No, it's not. And you can see his temper rising. The locker room is losing piece by piece. Y'all lose games y'all aren't supposed to lose next year. It's like, oh, they shouldn't have ran it back. McCarthy's not good. Next thing you know, you might end up in a season where your fringe playoff team or not, you don't make it, and then completely wasted. And it's like you could have just started the rebuild or done something significant, some significant change moving forward. But we're in running back territory, and it's very dangerous right now because every loss is magnified now for Dak, for McCarthy, for Jerry, Dan Quinn. So you literally have to play perfect next year, or shit could hit the fan real quick. So
let it hit.
Just saying, Cowboys fans, call me a hater, whatever you want to say, but I've literally been keeping this stance for the last 2 years we've done this podcast, except for coming into the season, that those first few episodes where I believed and I lived in y'all's delusional world for that month, and then San Francisco knocked me right back to reality, and never again. Never until the clock hits 0 and whoever is on the Cowboys is holding the Lombardi trophy, I would never believe it. I will never believe it. So that's how I'm feeling.
Me too, brother.
But on the flip side, we're going to switch it over to the Eagles, man. Sirianni looking like he's back. What's the moves, Cam? Does your team?
Nah, and all jokes aside, I'm not more so mad at that. It'll look bad for Philly to let go of a coach who took the Eagles to 3 straight playoff appearances. You went 9-8. Last year I think it was around 13-4, and then this year like around 11-6. So each year you made the playoffs. You made the Super Bowl last year. The first year you lost to the Buccaneers in the wild card, and then again this year you lost to the Buccaneers in the wild card. Even though, like I said earlier, the season didn't end perfect. That's still he's still the coach who took 3 straight. No other coach had pretty much did much like that besides Andy Reid. So with that being said, the thing I need to see with Philly is obviously if it was up to me, I mean, I would have pulled the trigger, get another head coach, like pulling in like a Ben Johnson or a Bobby from the offense coordinator from Texans, pulling him in, things like that, or even get like a Mike Vrabel, But knowing Philly, their way of coaching, first of all, they always want an offensive-minded coach. If you look at the history of coaching we had, every single last one, going back to 99 when they hired Andy Reid, offensive-minded coach. If you look at that teams he had, the roster he had, we had great defensive players, but we was never a great defensive team. So with Nick Sirianni, he's the first coach ever we had that had a top 5 offense and defense. Besides this year, obviously. That's never been done with the Eagles, as long as I've been a fan as well. So, of course, like Howie and Jeffrey sees that, and they want to keep that around because we didn't, like last year, we led the league in 70 sacks. Obviously, it was a regression year. We had one of the hardest schedules. Not saying it's an excuse, but it was going to be some growing pains when you lose 7 defensive starters, including one of the best linebacker cores, T.J. Edwards and Kazir White leaving to Arizona and Chicago. It's going to be some growing pains. We hit the nail in the coffin in the draft to where we were getting like great players from Georgia, but they didn't produce because of playing time and egos and this and that and third. However, I would obviously, since Nick Sirianni is basically, they're saying that he's staying, but he didn't even meet with Jeffrey yet. So, but in the hints of it, he probably is gonna stay, probably like 9 times out of 10 because all the players respect him. Even AJ, and that surprised me because AJ had his moments, but he wants Nick Sirianni to stay. So I would go for a different offensive coordinator. Obviously, with Brian Johnson, I know he's close to Jalen Hurts. He's been close to him since he was like 4 years old, but that doesn't matter in the league. You can be best friends with somebody, but if y'all not winning, relationships got to break. So if I had to look at teams, I know this sounds crazy, but I know it's a reach. Dan Orlovsky, he wants to be an offensive coordinator. I would look at him. He even though he wasn't the greatest player, obviously, as a quarterback, but he calls great plays. I would look at his service, see what he could do. See if he can bring some type of leadership and offensive game in. Because obviously Nick Sirianni, he cannot call plays himself. He calls the same wide receiver screens or same quarterback draws or whatever, and it's not working. Obviously, the O-line it's not the same O-line from last year. They've been banged up. Kelsey has injuries. Johnson been out. Jordan Mailata has issues. Everybody been banged up somehow, some way. Cam Jurgens been hurt. So Landon Dickerson, everybody. So I would bring him in, or I would look at see if the services of Eric Bieniemy by chance. Since Ron Rivera's gone, they blew it all up. See if he can come in because, like you said earlier, he's not afraid of putting everybody in check. I feel like if we had an actual leadership in the locker room, AJ Brown would not be acting like that. Let's be entirely honest. Because he had the same issue in Tennessee. And he didn't do that towards Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel won't put him in check, but everybody else could not. So we can have like an offensive coordinator who can actually put him in check and like, look, we understand you want your touches. We understand you want your yards, your touchdowns, whatever, but you have to share the ball. Because him being out showed what Devontae can do as a wide receiver 1, a true wide receiver 1. Because this is at the same – this not nothing new. Devontae did this back in 2021 when we faced the Buccaneers in the first round. And our wide receiver 2 was Jalen Reagor. So that says a lot. So I feel like we get like a better offensive coordinator, that can help. I know nowadays in the league they're going younger, but I feel like we definitely need somebody older who can literally put like the nail in the coffin and put the boot to the ass and excuse my French, but in the locker room. That's what we need. Secondly, defensive wise, get another defensive coordinator because obviously Jonathan Gannon leaving. I know a lot of people was on him because of the whole hold on James Bradbury and this and that and third. But he's the reason why we had 70 sacks as a team last year, a NFL record. And we had like C.J. Gardner-Johnson was literally tied in the league for like 6 or 7 interceptions. He missed like 4 games because of his stomach injury. That's something we need. We need like a better defensive coordinator. I mean, Matt Patricia showed that if he's not with Bill Belichick, he's not going to be great. Let's be honest. He showed that in Detroit, and he showed that in other opportunities this year alone. Because when he became the defensive coordinator, when they finally demoted Sean, we was literally ranked 30th in every single category, if not worse, 31st. Definitely got to bring in a different defensive coordinator. I don't know who was available. If it was up to me, I would hire Al Harris from the Cowboys because he's the reason why DeRon Bland, is all pro and Pro Bowl. I would bring him in. Not saying that he's going to resurrect the career of James Bradbury. He's not saying that. I'm not saying that. But he can help Eli Riggs. He can help Ringo. He can help all the young defensive players. Isaiah Rodgers. I forgot we had him because he was on suspension because of the gambling incident. Bring him in. He can help a lot of the young players and semi-older players besides Bradbury because that's a different story because of his contract. But help them out as far as being better in defensively. The third thing I would do is obviously we need better linebackers. That's been like the biggest issue. If I'm lying, I'm flying. I've been voicing that since week 2. I've been saying ever since we played Minnesota, I've been saying we need linebackers. Because last year when we played Minnesota, it was not a fair game. This year it's like the linebackers cannot cover. Shaq Leonard cannot run. Cunningham's probably the only linebacker we had who's like showing some types of bright spots because when he played Buccaneers, he was the one getting he almost had like 3 picks himself. If we want for them drops. We need some better linebackers. Either we got to get the services of Devin White from there, from Buccaneers, or we got to look into Patrick Queen from Baltimore because he's not getting resigned. We got to get some type of better linebackers. And if we want to help that front line because Cox and them probably going to be retiring, look at Brian Burns. I know it costs a lot, but we got to look at his availability and Brian Burns from Carolina. But it's a couple players that's mentioned that want to win, and we can – if Howie is one of the best GMs in the league, if not one of the best, he can find a way to get some players. It's just all about actually getting players that we need and that we want. I think the issue with this past offseason was he was getting players that the fans want to see and not what we can actually benefit from. Because when we actually got the players that we didn't know much about, we won. Everybody's questioning the whole C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade, and he became one of the best players we had. Everybody's questioning about giving T.J. Everett and stuff. He became one of the best players. I think the issue is actually start signing and drafting players that fits our criteria instead of getting what the fans want. Because when we get the fans want, we lose. Straight like that. I think that's what the issue is. So I think that starts back with the coaching staff as well. Now, as far as the A.J. Brown situation, I know he's been upset. I don't know what, like I said, in the locker room, it could be because of Jalen Hurts. He's a great leader. I'm not going to say he's not at his age. But he's not outspoken like Pat Mahomes and Allen and Burrow. He's not outspoken. So even CJ is more outspoken than him. He's gonna have to speak up in the locker room. I know he's very to himself and very introverted and quiet, but he's gonna talk somehow, some way. I seen a clip of him and Dosgard talking. He just nodded his head like, "Bro, we gotta talk somehow." I get the whole poetic comments and this and that in the press conference, bro. You're gonna have to talk in the locker room somehow. I don't know what happened because last year he talked a lot. Every clip they showed in the locker room, he was talking. Cursing, talking, whatever. He didn't do that at all this year. It's like he lost confidence. He's gonna have to go gain back that confidence and talk. Because when he talked, what happened? They won. Even when they lost, he still talked and they won. This year, if I'm lying, you have not saw not one clip of him talking in the locker room. Not one. Not one. He gotta get back to that same Jalen Hurts. He's gonna have to talk. I don't know what happened, but he's gonna get that ego back. As far as the offensive line, I'm going by piece by piece. I know with Kelsey retiring, I'm not too confident. I'm confident in Cam Jurgens, but I'm not too confident in him having to being the starting center now and everybody else coming in. So if I was them, I would look at free agency or even drafting to get like an offensive player, like offensive line wise. But I would go free agency. I want to get a veteran first before anything, and then still draft one to be behind that veteran. That way, so it'd be like how Kelsey was. And the last thing I can say is, actually played the young DBs, because when you bench Bradbury and put in Ringo, he was locking up. Mike Evans had probably like 4 or 5 drops because of Ringo on him. And some of them were catchable balls, but because of Ringo's presence and him catching up to zone, he dropped the ball. And that's not normal. That's not really normal of Mike Evans. I actually played the young players. I get Bradbury's on a hefty 3-year, $41 million contract. I get that. I wholeheartedly do. I would let him go. Pay him out, like, through the buyout market. The buyout market's coming in March. Release him. I know it's going to hurt the pockets, but, hey, I'd rather do that and then figure it out later. Let him go. Obviously, he was starting regrets because of ever since Debo made that comment, he's been showing that Debo's right. He done had issues where he got exposed by DK. He's literally the sole reason we lost to Seattle. Because when you had Ringo and Ricks on DK, he only had 3 catches for 28 yards. Locked down. And DK is a 6'5", 200-something receiver. But whenever you put Bradbury on him, you got him and JSN winning the game. Start the young DBs. We didn't draft them for no reason. We didn't sign them for no reason. Actually played him, because when Sidney Brown was in, he had a 99-yard pick 6. Locking up. Actually played the young players. That's all I'm saying. Like, I get they saying they try to have the veterans and it's a win now mode, but you have young players who can continue that win now mode. That's just how I feel. Slade was okay. You know, he had his moments when he was hurting stuff. I don't mind it. I would personally let Bradbury go. Like, I think he's around that time. Like, just like how Gilmore was messing up for the Cowboys, Bradbury been doing that all year for us. He literally cost us at least 3 games. I would let him go. Start the young players. Even if you got to sign a veteran cornerback in free agency somehow, some way, do that. But me personally, I would go with our young core. And just hire Al Harris, have him coach him up as defensive coordinator, and I promise you they're gonna be better. Not saying they're gonna be in Deron Bland's type of criteria, because we don't know how they're gonna play, but they're gonna be solid.
That's fair. I'm gonna go next because I don't have too much to speak on, y'all. But this one, I'm actually kind of glad y'all are possibly sticking with Sirianni, because, like you said, it's like, I know that Philly fan base is just very tough, and so, like, y'all, if coach don't produce, y'all want him out of there immediately, and he obviously needs to go back to the drawing board because his play calling was horrific this year, and it was only highlighted in that playoff game. I think y'all opened up the game with 2 runs, and you got 12 yards with Swift. I'm not even saying you got to just keep running the ball, but literally the next 3 plays were all pass plays, all incompletions, and then you punt it. Then you come back at the second drive and you pass the ball. I think the next 15 plays after that, y'all ran 1 running play, and that just can't happen. I think y'all's coaching holes, it sucks because you're going to kind of have to wait it out a little bit for some of these playoff teams. But I actually, for defensive coordinator, the top pick for me, I would go with another guy with the last name Morris, but I would go with Raheem Morris, the defensive coordinator for the Rams. There's been a lot of talk coming out of there. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, everybody's been singing his praises. Cam Sanders last episode pointed out, I think, 2 rookie defensive tackles they got that in like the 4th and 5th round led the league in sacks for rookies, respectively, 1 and 2. So I know y'all's defensive line is probably going to have to get a lot younger. I know BG said he's returning for next year, but that's kind of like a farewell tour. Cox probably, I think, might be gone or retired, since Kelsey is more than likely retired. So you're younger there already with some of those Georgia picks. You're going to have to refill some more with the draft. I think Raheem Morris would be good there. But if not, it's not looking like Mike Vrabel is going to get a head coaching job for whatever reason this cycle. If he's open to it, I think you got to go get Mike Vrabel as a defensive coordinator. He's an amazing DC. I think he's a very good coach. Me and Erik talked about this on his podcast last week. We were both shocked that he was even let go of in Tennessee, because I don't think they realized how good they had it. I know management didn't get along with him, and the whole A.J. Brown debacle kind of started that trickle-down effect. But they're about to see, like, Vrabel was holding a lot of things together. You lead, like we just got done talking about the Cowboys. McCarthy, Dak can't make it to the NFC Championship. You carry Ryan Tannehill, or you carry the Titans to the AFC Championship with Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback. That deserves a lot of respect. And so if he's not going to get picked up as head coach and he's willing to take the job, go get him. funny enough, even though he will be the DC, like you said, someone that can get along, kind of keep AJ Brown in check. I would imagine he's still cool with AJ Brown. It's a voice that can help, temper some things for him, just with all the outside noise and everything with the game. Offensive side of the ball, Sirianni's calling the plays, but he obviously needs to change some things up. Like I said, this is going to kind of deal with some of these head coaching vacancies and how they get filled up. Frank Smith, the offensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins, another one out of that kind of McDaniels, who was with McVay, Shanahan, that tree. If he's not going to get a head coaching job, go get him. If Bobby Slowick doesn't get a head coaching job, and maybe, he wants to do something else to his resume that could possibly get him a head coaching job, and he leaves Houston, maybe express interest in him.
I'll hold him
Because
hostage.
He's probably gone, which then that gets interesting because D'Amico is a defensive coach, so I would be interested to see who y'all hired to replace him. But yeah, that's how I think y'all start from there. Like you say, you got to get that DB room fixed because that was y'all's biggest Achilles heel this year. I think Jalen Hurts will be fine, but he's got a lot to prove because his one good year was last year. Everything else, it hasn't looked necessarily as bad as this year, but he's just looked like average to good QB at best, not what we saw last year. So last year right now is the outlier. So he's got to come back, have a strong year, prove people wrong. I think he needs to get healthy. Something is wrong with his knee, and it's been something wrong with it all year, but he won't sit himself out. So there's that. But yeah, man, I think that's how it has to go. But on the flip side for y'all, everything else seems to be hitting the fan in that division. Washington, new coaching staff, new management, new owner. New York, they still got Daniel Jones as a quarterback as of right now. And Dallas, I mean, they're running it back. And we can only imagine how good that will be. So that's how I'm feeling. Erik, how are you feeling with Sirianni? And do you think the Eagles should move off of him potentially? But if not, what do they do moving forward?
Before I do that, I want to tell you guys a quick story. It was January in 2018. The Patriots had just won the Super Bowl. They're at this restaurant to celebrate. Matt Patricia goes in. The bouncer would not let him in because he thought he was homeless with how he looked. Just think about that. You literally just won the Super Bowl. And the bouncer to where the after party is wouldn't let you in because he thought you were homeless. Because you looked homeless. As soon as they made that change, that's when I knew the Eagles were done. I mean, Matt Patricia needs to go. I'm a big thing of, look, if you can't get Vrabel, which I think is a great idea, but I don't know if Vrabel would be open to it. I think, you look in the college ranks. You want to get somebody smart, someone who's had success in the college ranks. You can go to the Iowa. You can go after Phil Parker, Iowa, who year after year has that defense, one of the best in the country, has done good against Michigan, Ohio State. I think that's a good look. Or you can go young. You can get the Michigan defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter. I think that's an out-of-the-box thing that Howie would be open to, get a young mind in there to change that defense because the holes were in the back seven. The front, I thought was good, but the linebackers, DBs were awful. You need someone in there that can change that. In terms of the offense, the big thing that stood out to me is their O-line used to have great depth. All those backups have gone on and are starting at other places. They have no depth in the offensive line. So if one person goes down, you are insanely thin up there. Hurts didn't progress this season. Maybe it was the injury, but now we've seen Justin Herbert, after Shane Starkin has left, take a step back. We've seen Jalen Hurts take a step back after he left him at Philadelphia. You need someone in there that's going to develop him, put in a chance to succeed. My out-of-the-box suggestion for that is you're going to go down to Florida State. You're going to hire Alex Atkins, who's been responsible for Jordan Travis's development. He's an older guy. He'll demand the respect of the locker room, and every place he's gone to, have it be an offensive line coach or the offensive coordinator, the quarterback play has gone better and the run game has gone better. I think that's big for Philadelphia. And it's tough, though, because Jalen Hurts and Johnson have this connection. Now, if Sirianni makes a move and fires Johnson, is he going to lose Jalen Hurts? I think that's kind of like why Sirianni's kind of in between a rock and a hard place. But if I was there, I would draft a DB. I like the kid Mitchell from Toledo, get a young DB, put a young guy back there, hit the linebackers and free agents, just because looking at it, ton of free agents in their mid-20s in the linebacker room. You can get Isaiah Simmons, who hasn't lived up to his potential, Devin Bush. You have all these young guys that haven't lived up to the potential. Get a new route, get a new place to play. I think these, in a young mind, I think they could live up. Draft a young DB, get a new OC and Alex Atkins. I think that's what you have to do, because you're committed to Jalen Hurts now. You have to put him in a situation to succeed. The A.J. Brown stuff, look, I have no idea what's going on there. I mean, that is one of the weirdest things in the world. Like you guys were talking about, he was really talkative last year. Now he's just saying no comment, smiling, and walking off. So there's got to be some sort of rift going in there. That's got to be solved, because I really feel in this league you need 2 wide receivers to be successful. And if you have that good duo and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, that's great. And you also need to run the ball more. I mean, what is Swift getting, like 12, 13 carries a game? In a game like that against Tampa Bay, it needs to be 18 to 22 carries. You need to be able to run the ball in this league to win.
Chris, Cam, y'all care to comment on the Eagles situation or what they could potentially do? I know that's your division rival, Chris, so I know you're probably hoping for whatever the worst outcome is for them. But
No, that's not the case. But I will say, because I've been feeling bad, bro. Like, I know Cam, I don't know if I was one of the first ones, but I know I was probably the first one in the group chat to tell Cam, like, this is not the same team from last year. Like, I never felt from the beginning of the season that was the same team from last year. And I don't know what it was. And then we saw what just happened these past 7 weeks. I can't speak too much on personnel, but I will say, like, I was just looking at some stats and stuff, because I just never even thought about it. But it has to be what Cam is kind of, and what y'all all are kind of focusing on with the offensive coordinator and Sirianni. Because just looking at their stats from 2022, like 2023 rushing yards, 2,190. 2022 rushing yards, 2,509. Right, and Bryce sat here and he talked about how, they ran one running play in a series where they're passing the ball like a lot, which is odd to me because you saw success in the run game last year and you moved away from it. I remember when the season started and Bryce had a lot of money betting on like DeAndre Swift rushing yards, and it was never hitting because they were never giving DeAndre Swift the ball, and they never decided to do it the whole season. And we saw what happened. Like, it has to be something in the locker room where they're like, hey, this is not what we did last year, and there's a disconnect. I don't know if it's coming from y'all's higher ups, because I know at least for my Cowboys, we can always blame Jerry, but Jerry's outspoken, so we know when he's the problem. He's gonna say it. I don't really hear from Eagles GMs and stuff like that, so I wouldn't know. But I can say that y'all's offense has changed a lot. Y'all averaged 28 points a game last year. Y'all averaged 25 this year. Pass yards, you're looking at a 300-yard difference. Even passing attempts, like, you guys passed the ball 30 more times this year. And I'm not going to even say it's because, I mean, last year y'all were good, but like you said, y'all played easier teams. But it's not like y'all were winning. Y'all weren't winning in like crazy fashion until kind of later in the season anyway, right? So honestly, in my opinion, I really think this team is better than what it was last year. I just think something changed when it came to the coordination and game plan, because y'all had a harder season, yet you still performed similar to last year. That's pretty impressive, right? In regards to personnel, I don't really have an opinion because I don't follow y'all like that, but I can say that just eye test from the beginning, it looked weird. And it's definitely a confidence thing. It's definitely a speaking out thing with Jalen Hurts and whatever coaches y'all have on the sideline. Like, it's a culture thing that y'all need to change in my eyes. I think the team is perfectly fine. Like you said, you have a lot of injuries that are, that y'all have to deal with. So I don't know, man.
it's fair. Cam Sanders, how you feeling about Sirianni and the boys down in Philly?
I mean, it's the same problems that Dallas have, honestly. And honestly, I wasn't too surprised that y'all keeping Sirianni or Nick or whatever. But I'm like in the middle of it because right now, if you look all over the league right now, I mean, this is probably the best chance to go out and go get a head coach right now, and a really damn good one. Me personally, I saw it towards the end of the year. It felt like Nick kind of like lost the locker room at some point at the end of the year. So that's how I was kind of feeling like, oh yeah, he's probably out of there. But looks like y'all gonna keep him or whatever. But yeah, I think both offense coordinator and defense coordinator, both those guys got to go. On the defensive side, y'all said some names. Variable, he might, if he's open to it, go out and get him. Offensive side, you go get Frank Smith or something like that, or another guy that probably in a couple more years, or maybe even this year, his name probably gonna be out there for offense coordinator. I know y'all, I should have said this for the Cowboys too, but I know y'all probably, don't like the 49ers guys, but the passing game coordinator right now is Clint Kubiak right now. And Gary Kubiak, his system, I mean, it's looking this how what everybody's doing right now is pretty much his system right now. So yeah, I mean, I'll go out and get Kubiak. He's learning under Shanahan right now. He's look at what Bobby Slowick doing with us right now. So if Bobby do leave us, I hope we do go get Clint, or try to get Gary Kubiak out of retirement or whatever. But that's one name that I'll probably that y'all should probably think about. But like I said, I don't know if y'all like 49ers guys or stuff like that. With AJB, man, I'm with E. I do like the two receivers. I feel like you do need two receivers for to have like a strong passing attack game or whatever. But with AJB, I think it might be time to move on. Ever since the Titans, whatever, I feel like his closest to his end of his tenure with the Titans, he was kind of being like a locker room cancer or whatever. And now you see it with the Eagles. He's somewhat of a locker room cancer. I think it's time to move on from him. And like you've been saying, you could probably get a nice little bag off of him. So I probably you'll probably can get like some type of draft compensation or whatever out of him. So I probably would move on from him and draft another young receiver. Like you said in the group, Smitty, he has shown he can be a receiving one. I think he personally could be a receiving one. If you trade AJB, this receiver class is deep, like real deep. So you can go out there, you go get an AD Mitchell, or you can go get a Troy Franklin, or you go get somebody like that. So I mean, yeah, that's what I do on the offensive side. On the defensive side, I don't know if I'd get Fletcher Cox back, because this should be his last year. Well, he should be a free agent after this year, huh?
He signed a 1 year deal. All of them signed a 1 year deal. So I think it's like 1 year. I think like $8 million, something like that.
Look, y'all drafted two really good defensive tackles in Jordan Davis and what's his boy name?
Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter.
Fuck those guys, man. Fletcher Cox is in the way. I know he loves Philly. He's an older dude though, man. But let the young guys get in there, man. Those two there, Jordan Davis and keep forgetting his name. Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter.
Both those guys there. I'll start those two guys, and man, it's time for Cox to get on out of here, man. But yeah, that's what I think I should do.
I said him and Graham. I don't think Graham's coming back. Still got Graham trying to come back. I'm not a big fan of Graham coming back, but I know he's trying to get the farewell tour like Kobe, but I think it's time for him as well, because he ain't doing that.
They don't love him like Kobe.
Because I mean, we still got Milton Williams as well. That's why I said if we do let them go, I definitely want them to press on getting Brian Burns out of Carolina somehow, some way. They got to get Brian Burns. That would be perfect. Have him or Hassan Reddick reunite together, it would be perfect.
I mean, if there's one GM that can fleece a great player, it's Howie Roseman. I'll give him that. He's always making some type of splash.
Even Gardner Johnson, free agent, he said he still missed Philly. So if they could find a way to get him healthy and come back, I mean, I'm open for that too.
Yeah, I don't know why y'all didn't pick him to start in the offseason this year. Like when y'all
No.
went,
We did.
Bradbury.
We did. We know. I'm glad you said that. We actually did. We offered him 3 years, $24 million. He wants to test the market and get more money. So Howie didn't want to wait on him. So he said, like, I'm gonna resign Slay. Remember, Slay was supposed to go to Baltimore, but they ended up giving Slay the extension. So they ended up keeping Slay, and they gave Bradbury 3 years, $41 million. So when Garner Johnson finally realized that the safety market wasn't as best as he thought it was, he was trying to come back to Philly, but the money was already going to Slay and Bradbury. So that's when he signed Detroit for 1 year, $6.5 million. We were trying to sign him at first. So his agent pretty much messed it up for him.
Dang. Yeah, that's like a
He's doing his thing in Detroit, though. He's doing his thing in Detroit. That's all that matters.
Oh, well, with that being wrapped up, we're going to move forward into this divisional round week. Matchups are as follows. First up, we got the Ravens and Texans. First game of the weekend, Saturday afternoon. Ravens, the 1 seed. Texans, the young gun, taking the league by storm. Potential dark horse. CJ Stroud, Will Anderson, D'Amico, all them boys playing good ball. Then Saturday night, I believe is that the Detroit Tampa game, or is that the 49ers? Oh, yes. So 49ers, Packers, and then Sunday, first game, Detroit and Tampa Bay, and then my Chiefs versus the Bills to round it up.
I need